Hello, everybody. Mayor Talbert here. I'm with Easley Police Chief Brandon Liner, and we're here today to talk about some concerns that we've had expressed through his department and through the mayor's office about traffic issues and concerns. And so we have some good news coming up, and Chief Liner's going to tell us how he's going to mediate that.
All right, so I first want to thank the mayor and council for giving us 2 new traffic officers and 2 new DPU officers.
Yep.
I will go into a little more context into what both of those are going to do, but I did want to say thank you in person, and I also want to say thank you to council for allowing us this opportunity. But so obviously I've lived here in my entire life, and we all know traffic is a major issue in Easley. Unfortunately,
because of growth.
Yes, this is like I tell everybody, Easley is such a wonderful place. Everybody wants to live here, and we are exploding as a city. The problem is you have to keep your infrastructure and resources up and going and in place. And because of what you guys are doing and help me get these officers, now we can proactively go after instead of reactively. In the past, we had to reactively go to a wreck, reactively go to a situation. But now that we have at least 4 officers dedicated strictly to a specific assignment, and then i.e. traffic, the 2 traffic officers, they can proactively come to some of these complaints. So all these complaints that come in, we can now at this point, I can't see 2 officers covering the entire city.
No, and we've talked about that. I know I shared at the council meeting and in some of my mayor's messages that we have on average 5 patrol officers at any shift for our population and any visitors that are in the city. So this is gonna help.
Yes, so typically you have a lieutenant, a sergeant, 5 officers. Our lieutenants and sergeants are literally, instead of having to be your supervisor, your commander, they're having to answer calls just like everybody else is, because we literally get anywhere between 700 to 1,000 calls of service a week.
Wow.
So and that's one thing people don't realize is our first priority is answering calls for service. When you pick up the phone and ask for the police, we gotta come regardless. And so that's our first priority. This is giving the opportunity for, instead of just having an investigative division and having just a road patrol division, now we have so many more opportunities. We have a traffic division, we have a DPU division. There's other ideas out there we're coming out with, but traffic and DPU we have to focus on right now because it's such a huge problem.
So explain to everybody the difference in a traffic and a DPU.
All right, so a traffic officer is obviously.
I'm gonna pick my pen up.
A traffic officer obviously is the one who goes out, catches people speeding, works traffic wrecks, fatalities. They're certified in all kinds of different things when it comes to traffic specific. So in other words, they're an expert in what they do, specific to traffic. DPU is what's called directed patrol. So in other words, whatever's going on at that time is what they get to proactively focus on. If your neighborhood
if you call and complain and you say, I've got through traffic driving through my neighborhood and I need you to come watch
yes.
Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 o'clock. That's
yes.
what directed patrol is.
Well, yes, they can be used for that, but that's more traffic.
Okay.
Your traffic officers can handle those type of situations. Directed patrol is where if your vehicles are broken into and we're having a rash in certain areas, your directed patrols will be the ones who go in and handle and help with that situation. Now, I say that directed patrol and traffic will help each other. So whether it's a traffic unit pulls over somebody that's trafficking fentanyl through our cities, which happens, and we get it, trafficking cases all the time, unfortunately, the DPU can come over and assist with that, and vice versa. If DPU gets a traffic violation, traffic can come over and help. So it's kind of one and the same, and at the end of the day, it also gives our road officers the opportunity, because there are several who love to work traffic and want to work traffic, but they have so many calls for service. They can't. So what they can do now that traffic is here and they can work wrecks and then handle situations like that, these officers who love to do traffic too as well can also now open up and do traffic. So obviously more resources, more help helps us be a lot more proactive for this city, and actually tackling the situations that are near and dear to people's hearts.
Because we've talked about the fact that we are growing, we are the #1 growing state
Yes.
in the nation, and we don't anticipate we're gonna sit at this population.
No.
So we are gonna have to anticipate, to your point, to be proactive
Yes.
in growing to make sure that we can answer calls promptly and take care of traffic. I get a lot of concerns about running traffic lights and
Yes.
stop signs, and that's dangerous.
It is. It's very dangerous, and this will allow us to attack those very same things. Last year, unfortunately, there were several traffic fatalities. The way the city is growing, the dynamics of what we need is changing. The dynamics right now is traffic.
And it has surprised me that we have DUIs. We have so many DUIs.
Yes, and believe it or not, we're one of the leading departments in the state, and actually arrest for DUIs. In fact, we have one specific officer at this agency who is literally in the top 5, probably the last 3 years in DUI arrests and convictions. So, yes, we have
That's a big issue.
a lot. It's a major issue, and I have kids myself. I grew up here. I have kids here. DUIs, texting while driving is just as bad as a DUI. You literally are not even looking at the road if you're texting and driving. So yes, it's a major issue. It's one that's a deadly issue, and I care just as much about the kids in this wonderful community as everybody else does. And I want to put a stop to that. That the people that, and unfortunately, if you happen to be one of those that get the ticket, I will say, I'm sorry.
If you're speeding and you're driving too fast and you're running a stop sign and you run a red light, you're gonna get a ticket.
Yes, and we will say this too, and when we start the traffic divisions, they are cognizant of, the human nature in people. So if you're going like 5 or 6 over in a neighborhood area, and I have told these officers to pull over every car that's speeding, they're gonna pull you over. Now you'll probably get a warning, and which doesn't go against your license. The DMV doesn't keep up with it. It's more of, this is a warning, please slow down. So don't get angry, don't get upset. Just understand we're trying to do our job, and we're trying to be effective, and we're trying to lessen the mortality rate of our highways, and we're trying to make it safer for people to drive.
And I think everybody wants that. I
Yes.
do. I mean, that's what I hear from the citizens. And so, I mean, anything that we can do and be reactive to what people want to see, I think is a good thing.
Yes.
And what I love about our law enforcement is that they love the community so much, and you guys live here. I mean, to your
Yes.
point, you live here. I live
Yes.
here. We live here.
Yes.
A lot of people have kids that they're worried about. A lot of our
Yes.
officers have children that are, walking in the streets
Yes.
and people are
Yeah.
going way too fast. And so stop signs, what do you think are the biggest trouble areas in Easley? You can say 123.
123. So 123 is definitely the one I hear the most about, obviously, because there's so much traffic. I mean, we've got flock cameras up everywhere in the city, and they
Those
count
are really, you should, we have time for you to say something about the flock cameras.
So the flock
And
cameras.
the drones.
Yes.
And all the tools.
So the flock cameras themselves, and there's a misconception out there that we're tracking. We're not. So flock cameras, what they'll do for us is they can count cars. We can do our own studies. We don't need to. It's simple. Print this out for me. And
Right.
so flock cameras are pretty much set up at every major point coming into the city. What it helps us do is if a crime is say a crime happens on Patterson Road at 2 a.m. and it's a bunch of auto wreckings. These flock cameras, we can go through and see every vehicle between like a 5-minute time span. And if it's the vehicle that we see on
So
the
it is
camera,
taking pictures
yes,
of your license plate, your whole car, everything.
your license plate, your whole car, and everything. But it does not keep it. So in other words, the license plate has to be entered into flock for it to be a hit. The only way that happens
Okay.
is either A, it's a stolen car, B, we enter it because we have warrants on someone, there's a crime. Yeah, correct. So the misconception is that's not the case. I could care less where everybody goes. I just care about stopping
How
the crime.
fast they go.
Correct. And we have speed trailers and we have speed signs. I'm sure people have seen those.
I see those.
We actually have statistics about how fast people go down certain roads. Those speed signs not only count cars, but they actually see how fast you're going. There's a radar system in there, and they also give us a printout of peak times that people speed, how often they speed, how fast they were going. So yes, there was numerous things we can go off of that, but 123 is definitely the main complaint. But there's also several neighborhoods that get complaints as well.
Yes, and I hear from those neighborhoods. And
Yes.
it's some of the complaints have been that people are trying, and I get it, there's a lot of people moving here, we have a lot of traffic. They're trying to circumvent from one highway to the next highway, so they're calling them cut through roads, and the people that live on those roads are really scared at the speeds, because if you don't live there and you're cutting through, you may not be paying the kind of attention.
Not as cognizant, yes.
Right, and then the other is people that are really upset with neighbors. It's not a cut through, it's a dead end maybe, it's a no out, and their neighbors are flying through.
Yes,
at the end of the day.
and see, and that's the unfortunate problem of one of the things we struggled in the past is, when I say we have 700 to 1,000 calls for service a week, just do the math. I mean, our officers can't do everything and be in every neighborhood, but now we actually have dedicated officers who can at least start hitting these areas that need to be sat on, and need to be people that are reckless driving and speeding need to be stopped. And don't get me wrong, when we get to these neighborhoods that aren't cut throughs, it's going to be their neighbors getting the tickets. So like I say, just make sure we slow it down, because at the end of the day, the only reason there's speed limits is because of safety.
That's exactly right.
That's the unfortunate part, is when we have to write a ticket. We don't want to write tickets, but when we have to write a ticket, it's because we're trying to keep people from going too fast.
And we've talked before, about statistics and how many officers we have per capita and how many we should have. And I know you brought a few statistics. Is there anything that you want to tell everybody about where we are versus where we should be and where we hope to be?
So the FBI puts out crime statistics and stats and all kind of stuff all the time. That's pretty much your go-to source because it's non-biased, non-binary, and it talks about law enforcement. They don't really actually put out a per number you should have, but it's because you might live in a situation where you're on the outskirts of some city that has a very high volume of crime or a very low volume, and so it really depends on that type of nature as well. So, but where we sit is recommended about 2.2 officers per 1,000 people. And if you go back to the 2019 and 2020 census, it says that we had 25,000, I believe, people in the city then.
In 2020.
Yes, and that was 2020. Exactly.
That was not last week.
Yes, that was 5.5 years ago.
Right.
So we all know Easley is exploding, and if you try to even Google how many people are in the city of Easley, it's a very low number because they go on the national average. Well, you and I both know, and everybody that lives in the city knows, we're not the national average.
No, we're not.
We're exploding.
We are.
So based on our estimation, there's roughly anywhere between 35,000 people that live in the city of Easley at one given time.
And that doesn't count visitors that come here for our
Correct.
events, or that come here because our shopping is better than anywhere else, or whatever they're here for, to dine in our restaurant. So all those people you're responsible for as well, and they're driving.
Absolutely. Just because you're not a resident or you're not paying in city taxes means nothing. That means
they still draw on our number of officers per shift.
That's right. They have just as much right to be safe in this community as anyone else.
And we want people to feel safe.
Yes. So you're exactly right. And that number jumps up exponentially based on what's going on. I mean, during a Clemson game, it might be 100,000 people that come through here, if not more. But for instance, on a normal every given day, there's 40, 45, 50,000 people in the city at any given time. And you literally can look that up just based on our statistics on vehicles. At any given time, you have anywhere between 40 to 50,000 people in the city. And that's 7 officers trying to protect.
So moving forward, we're still going to grow, and I know you're still preparing for
Yes.
that. I mean, we're not done because
Correct.
people have not stopped moving here.
Yes, so I think it would be very unprofessional of me to say, hey, we're at a good moment, let's just stay here. And that's not the case at all. You obviously need a 1, 3, 5, 10 year plan. I need a plan tomorrow, right?
Correct.
So the biggest thing we need to move forward is let's keep this going, right? So we have these two divisions. Let's just keep them growing and keeping more and more people in more and more subdivisions. Because if someone who has bad intentions sees an officer sitting in that subdivision, he's more than likely than not going to come back to that.
And we've talked about presence.
Yes.
Presence, just seeing an officer, more officers in more places, I think is a deterrent. And I think it makes people feel safer.
Absolutely. And I can promise you this, it is what it is. Easley's going to explode and grow. There's not a lot people can do about that because we live in a democracy, and if you want to sell your land and grow just on the outskirts of Easley, that's going to happen.
And why would you not want to live in Easley?
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, and
yes.
I'm just saying that Easley is where everyone's wanting to move to. It's on the outskirts of Greenville. You're 10 minutes from Greenville. You're 4 hours to the beach. You're 30 minutes to the mountains. You're in heaven, pretty much.
God's
country. It is God's country.
That's right.
Like I said, I grew up here. I'm a little biased, but I do think this is God's country. And I'm telling you now, it's only going to grow. Everybody's seeing how amazing this place is, and it's only going to grow. And with that, you have to plan for growth. And that's either through us or even the fire department or anyone else. And
our infrastructure.
Yes, and that's what we're trying to get to. I mean, right now, if you just based on the FBI crime and statistics, we should have anywhere between 60 and 70 officers. That's right now.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to plan to grow and you want to stay ahead of the curve, you're talking more on that 70 range, right? So we're getting there. We've had a lot of good things coming, and hopefully I've got some good news coming even later. But a lot of good things are happening. If I could get the people in this area to get a glimpse of just how excited our guys are and how wonderful these men and women come into this department and want to serve them. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have some good moments.
They're great. They are great. And that's
yes.
one of the reasons I'm trying to do these behind the scenes, because I want people to see the side of all of our employees that
yes.
I've been blessed to see the past year and a half, and to be proud of what we have in our city, because we have some of the most awesome people. They care, guys.
Yes.
That's basically what I wanted to say, and to show you with Chief Liner and to talk about our plans and his plans, and the culture that you've got in this department is phenomenal. And in conclusion, wrapping up, take a few minutes to tell everybody, if you see somebody, if you have a concern in your neighborhood, if you see somebody in the act, I know I have had to tell people, you have to call it when you see it.
Yes.
So sort of give them a little bit of advice and a little bit of direction for these traffic issues that they're.
Sure. So the way I try to tell everyone, and I talk to so many different people, is if you see it, please call us right away. That's our job. That's what we're supposed to do. So if you have a problem, I don't care how insignificant you think it is, or if you hear a gunshot, or if you hear a car backfire but you think it's a gunshot, call us. It's our job to figure out what that was. So whether it's traffic or whether it's somebody that looks very suspicious, please call us so we can figure out what's going on. And the more and more officers and resources we have, the quicker we can get there, the faster we can get there, and we can be a lot more proactive in stopping these things from happening instead of reacting on the back end
Afterwards.
and then trying to find out. Yes.
Afterwards. And I do get, real quick before we close, I do have a lot of people that have this fear of telling who they are calling. Like if they have a neighbor that speeds every day, and they know they speed at 2:30 every day, but they don't want the neighbor to know they called police. Is there any kind of confidentiality with that, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, anyone can call here in the sense of anonymity.
Anonymity.
I used a big word. I pulled that one out from nowhere. But anyone can call in at any time, and the traffic stop, and if someone is speeding and they're stopped and given the ticket, doesn't reflect what a complaint was. So in other words, there's not a narrative or a report written,
right.
Unless there's more further into that traffic stop.
I just don't want people to be afraid to call the police, and a lot of people reach out to me because they're just apprehensive about calling the police, and they're wonderful people, and they take care of our city.
And that's the culture we're wanting to change. We're wanting people to know that they can talk to us Like they can talk to anyone because we are.
You're
them.
real people, you live here, they love the city.
We
talk
have
to
children just like they do. We love this city just as much as they
And
do.
I think that you guys feel the same way I do. I say when I go to the schools and I go talk to the kids, these are our kids.
Yes.
They're our kids.
Yes.
And I think that you guys feel that way.
I take it personal every time. Absolutely. They are our kids.
Well, thank you so much for your time,
Yes.
and thank you guys for listening to the whole segment. And we'll be talking again, I guess, about some other topics and some things that the chief wants to let everybody know about. But we hope to go behind the scenes and bring you a little bit more of Easley behind the scenes. So thank you. Thanks, Chief.